Hello, Culture and Leadership Connections Patreon subscribers. Today I have a special treat for you. And the treat is Michael Hagley, who is the owner and founder of Bearing. And he has a really great background in engineering, project management, and coaching. And he brings many talents to what he does, which you found out about when you heard him on the podcast interview. But he mentioned a couple of times that he was interested in sports. And then I found out that he loves scuba diving. So I didn't know that. And I wanted to ask him to tell us a little bit more about the role of scuba diving in his life and some of your scuba diving experiences, Michael. So take it away and let us know all about scuba diving and you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just share this quickly with everybody. This is my wife and then I share this and it looks old and grainy, but it's because it was taken a long time ago. And this was our first dive together in Turks and Caicos. And so diving for me was always something that I was really interested in. And for those of us who are all Canadians in this group here, diving in the lake is a really interesting experience. So you see Jacques Cousteau, you see National Geographic, but when you dive in the lake, at some point as you go down in the water, you can't see up and you can't see down. And if you learn to dive in a lake, you can dive just about anywhere in the world under any circumstances. So my favorite experience was, it was my NAUI advanced diver certification. And we were told we were going to dive on a wreck called the Niagara. Okay, that's great. There's pictures of it and everything else. The Niagara is an 803-foot long laker that they've purposely sunk in Tobermory. And so down we went. And I'm watching my gauge, and somewhere around 30 feet, I couldn't see up and I couldn't see down. It was just a little bit of a soup. And then, like, you can't make this up, as the next thing I saw when I looked down was the center of the smokestack. I was right over the center of this Lakers smokestack as we were descending to 45 feet, which was which was where we were going to do our exercise. So, I mean, it's fun. I enjoyed every single minute of it, including the 30 seconds where I was terrified I'd end up down inside the smokestack. But I mean, when we're down south, like you saw us there, it's a fabulous world. And, people might get scared, but last time we were in Jamaica, my wife and I were diving, and you could see off in the distance a school of 3 black-finned sharks or black-tipped sharks. You could see another one, a brown, I think they call it mud shark, and barracudas and turtles. And it's a different world, and it's fabulous. You get to go and visit and see all kinds of stuff. So I love it.
Well, visiting the underwater world is like an out-of-world experience, because an out-of-body experience in a way. You're moving from the air world into the water world.
Yeah.
And you see things you probably never expected. And even the things you expected to see don't look the same in their natural habitat.
Exactly. And even though I love it, there is this little bit of claustrophobia when you first go under the water, right? Like, you've got your mask, your eyes are effectively dry, you've got your regulator in, but now you're like, okay, that's all I've got. Okay, but no, I'm okay.
That would be scary. How many feet am I down here?
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the, I think it's one of the most powerful skills when you're a diver, is doing nothing and staying at the same level that you're at. So once we get to a place that we call neutral buoyancy, and it depends on how much weight you have on your belt, and if you've done that all right, you can get to a point where you can do nothing and just hang out in the water at that depth. And if you're in a current, you can take in a little bit deeper breath and you rise. And then when you want to go down, you blow out a little bit more and contract your chest and you go down. Wow. It's unbelievable.
You really learn to work with the water.
Yeah, because scuba diving is about being lazy. It's about putting out.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, you'll see scuba divers and they'll have all their gauges and their arms are just crossed and they're just kind of hanging out in the water. that's us being lazy and just observing everything that's around, and a little motion to reach your gauge and take a look and let it back down, and you're just hanging out.
Cool.
Yeah,
Are
it's
you
really neat.
are you a great swimmer too? Do you love swimming?
Yeah, I used to swim competitively, and so did my wife. So the fun thing there is to try and come out of the dive with more air than the dive master. So the dive master dives, every day of the week, every week of the year, kind of thing, and their breathing regulation is top of the line. So some people can pull all the air out of their tank in a 40-minute dive and have to go up. We try and start with 3,000 and end with more than 2,000 pounds in the tank. And that's,
Wow, wow.
yeah, you have to regulate yourself.
Regulating air, like what does that do? What does that give you? I mean, what
Yeah.
other than regulating the air, what kind of skills or does it do, and what does that do for your body?
Well, so that's part of the part about being calm and lazy. So there's a reason to be lazy is because you use less air. And so depending on where you are and what you're seeing while you dive, you can stay down longer. So if you're a 250-pound guy and you're nervous and you're and you pull through that 3,000 pounds of air in 15 minutes, well, guess what? Your dive's over. Up you
Yeah.
go.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
those of us who are sipping on air, right? And we can stay as long as the computer says we can so that we don't develop um, nitrogen narcosis.
Hmm.
But yeah, just if you're breathing regularly and you're exhausting air, minimizing your air consumption, it doesn't do anything. It just makes that you can have a longer dive and see more stuff.
Wow, that's really great. And you
Yeah,
learn
it's
how to
neat.
control your breathing when you're swimming, but I think when you dive, it's a lot more of a skill. Maybe the opposite kind of a skill almost. I don't know. Am I getting this right or am I off?
Well, it kind of is. It kind of is because I've been diving with folks who, so sometimes we went down to Roatan in Honduras, and we're out there and the seas were rough. And so even at 35 feet, waiting for everybody to come off the boat, one of the divers came down and she was out of sorts, like really out of sorts. She was freaked out because of how rough it was. And she was breathing really hard. And it's it's about being calm, knowing you're okay, but she had to go back up. And it's just, you
You
kind of
have to learn
like
to
it.
regulate your emotions. The breath and
Yeah,
the emotions really go together, don't they?
absolutely, absolutely. And so if you're going to, so there's safety issues. So you
Hmm.
don't have to be the only one that pops to the top by yourself. Um, because if you're emotionally charged, you might go up faster than your bubbles. And at that point, there's a potential you'll need a chamber after. So both the emotional regulation, the air management, and then following process, so that you stay safe and you don't endanger anybody else. Because like you said, we're in a different world.
Hmm.
Sometimes we're 75, 80, 90, 100 feet below the surface.
Wow. Wow.
So
So how's
yeah,
this helped you with your coaching and your business?
I think for me, it's knowing that, well, it's knowing a bunch of things. It's those times when you need to be away, when there's just something else to do rather than work, and realize that other people have those passions too. So connecting with people on their passion level for me is really powerful. And if you, like, as a coach, listening to understand what those passions are for people, it's a fantastic way to connect with people, especially if you have the same passion. So that, I think, for me is one of the main pieces, but also that understanding how to really manage yourself. So when I'm coaching, because you will see if you take a look at my personality assessment, I'm not really the coach type. I'm more the fire them up, go. So listening for me and self-management is a skill that I practice. And scuba diving kind of is the same skill and puts me in that mindset. So yeah, there's a lot of things that come out of that.
That was very insightful. Thank you so much for sharing this moment with us and
Oh,
for
you're
sharing one of
welcome.
your passions. I really appreciate it.
Great to talk with you again.